The craft came from the Zeta Reticuli star system. The craft came from the Zeta Reticuli star system. There is no way that any government on this earth could produce that craft, period. And I defy anyone to argue that point. The scope of the group there, the people at S4, were to back engineer, essentially, take apart and discover the manufacturing process and materials used to produce this craft, this flying saucer. More specifically, my group consisted of me and another person, his name was Barry, that we dealt with the power and propulsion system of the craft, and we were to back engineer that. We were to see if the power and propulsion system could be duplicated and if it could possibly be duplicated with earthly materials instead of any exotic foreign materials that we might have come across. Well, there's three levels to the craft. There's the central level that the hatch lets you into. This is where there are 3 seats. In the exact center of the craft, there's the reactor that powers it. Surrounding the reactor are 3 gravity amplifiers that provides the power and the field that propel the craft. On the level underneath that, are the actual waveguide antennas, horns, whatever you want to call them, that actually emit the gravity wave. They hang down in a triad at the bottom level of the craft, and they are movable. The very top part of the craft, there are small black portholes, we've called them on there. Now, I don't know exactly what's on that level, but I firmly believe that that's the navigational system, and those porthole type devices are actually sensors that determine the craft's orientation in space. So it can tell whether it's from star fixes or landmarks or who knows what, or a system that we're not familiar with. But that's how the craft determines its orientation and position in space.
What can you tell us about any bodies of alien beings?
Well, there apparently were some somewhere. There were some autopsy pictures of a being. Now, I don't know if that had to do, if this was something that was just in the history of the project, or if it was something that was there, or it was something that had to relate, to this craft. But of the two photographs that I saw, there were only two there. It was a small being just showing the chest, and the chest was cut in a T fashion with the skin pulled back, and it was the thing had just one central organ, as if that looked. Have you ever seen a liver in the supermarket? Just kind of a brown, almost liquid-looking thing, but it had just one central organ, and then the next photographs had the organ vivisectioned, and it had seemed like all the organs you normally had just grown together. There was a section of it that apparently pumped blood, another section of it that processed air, and it just seemed, to be one single organ, as opposed to little separate units here and there. But it was, and again, there was no information with it. We were just given the information, knowing of the existence, just in case any information might help us in determining what our particular project did. For instance, we were working in the power and propulsion system. There was no reason for us to have a tour of the inside of the craft. However, maybe the placement of the reactor was important to its operation, so we did have to see where it was. We did have to see, some satellite things around what was going on.